Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome all viewers. Inshallah, today I wanted to share some thoughts regarding a video that went viral. Basically, Allahu alam, only Allah knows all of the specific details about this video and the context and the people involved. But based on what we can see, it appears that there is a class of high school students about to graduate, and what appears to be a Muslim girl being asked to prom by a boy, and it's this big like TikTok production of a video, and she accepts the proposal. She says, you know, he has this big poster, she checks yes, and then everyone's celebrating and jumping around, and it's really so much to unpack. And if you look at the comments and the quote tweets and the back and forth about this, it's really, I mean, a friend of mine and we were discussing this about like, you know, like what's going on here. Look at the comments, and we started listing all of the components, all of the ingredients that this video has for it to go viral. And it's really quite interesting. I mean, firstly, you have the religious aspect. Okay, and that's the main reason why this is such a big deal anyways, because it appears that this is a Muslim girl, and you know, this sort of behavior where she is accepting to go to the prom with somebody, and you know, there were people handing her flowers and everyone's celebrating. It's like, from a religious Muslim perspective, it's like, this doesn't seem to add up. You know, why are you going to the prom? Why is there this sort of public display of affection? What is, you know, there are people in the comments saying, oh, well, those two are married. So then there's that whole discussion about getting married at that age in high school. And there's also a racial component, because the girl appears to be from perhaps the Indian subcontinent, and the boy appears to be from African descent. So then there's a racial component, people saying things about that. Then, you know, there's the less religious Muslim approach, the liberal Muslim approach, or even the non-Muslim approach of like, oh, you know, look at this girl, look at her blending into society, oh, how cute. So then there's some back and forth about that. Oh, you're only upset because, you know, this reason or that, or you can't get girls, or you're jealous, or this, that, and the third. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's just so much to take in. Then, of course, there's the social media component. It's like, these are high school students that recorded this video, and now it has millions of views, you know, potentially thousands of comments, people talking about it. And some of the comments are so harsh. I mean, from both extremes. So mean. I mean, imagine like, you know, having to deal with that. A lot of people don't understand what it's like to have something get a lot of attention on social media and people like showing you a lot of hate and criticism. It's much easier to sit back and watch as an observer than it is to be on the receiving end of all of that, you know, and these being high school students having to now deal with that. That's a subject in and of itself. You also have the societal aspect of this, where, you know, some people are criticizing America for this happening, whereas it appears to have happened in the UK. So there's like that cultural thing of like, I don't know, people in the UK adopting certain aspects of American culture in terms of the music, in terms of the prom. Then there's the prom in general. I mean, I don't know what the prom is like today or what it's like in the UK, but I know when I was in school, the prom had some pretty un-Islamic implications. Another aspect to all of this is the school system. Anybody familiar with me, you know that my focus right now is emphasizing Islamic schools. We are trying to establish our own Islamic school to avoid things like this. I believe this should be the Muslim community's #1 priority in the West, establishing good Islamic schools for our children. In fact, speaking about prom and being a Muslim, 7 years ago I posted a video entitled Muslim Prom King and Being Confident as a Muslim, where 7 years ago somebody emailed me talking about how they were struggling because they had a level of popularity in their school, and therefore he was being pressured to be a prom king, but he knew as a Muslim he shouldn't participate in these sorts of things. So one of the things I mentioned back then was we should not be going to these public schools. We should be building and establishing our own Islamic schools. You shouldn't send your kids to public school. And that reminds me of another aspect to all of this, which is, you know, these kids that go to these public schools, and forgive me, I think in the UK it might actually be called something else, but in America, a public school is basically just like the government-funded schools that are free and open to everyone according to wherever it is that you live. And that is opposed to a private school, which usually tends to be more expensive, but it comes with the benefits of being able to, implement certain religious values or perhaps get a better education, so on and so forth. But the point I was getting at is if you go to a public school, oftentimes the kids are faced with either going along with everything that's being pushed on them, everything that's kind of popular and trending at the time, which can be completely opposed to their religious beliefs, or they have to be a social outcast. So when I made this video 7 years ago, one of the reasons why this brother was even in this issue to begin with was because he reached a level of popularity at his school. And when it comes to this video that went viral, it seems quite obvious to me that those kids that are involved, they reached a level of popularity to have all of their classmates be involved in it and celebrating and smiling and cheering them on. So we need to understand the reality of putting our kids in these sorts of environments, which also leads to another component of all of this, which is parenting. Now, definitely, once you reach a certain age, you are held responsible for your actions. But at the same time, the Prophet, peace be upon him, told us that all of you are shepherds and each of you are responsible for your flocks. So when we see videos like this of essentially a bunch of kids, a bunch of dependents who, they're at an age where they still are dependent upon their parents, on their families. They are still at an age where it is upon those older than them to really teach them and give them the proper type of upbringing to instill certain values in them. So to what extent are the parents and those in authority really responsible for this sort of thing? I mean, there's so much to unpack here, but this whole situation I just think is very symbolic and telling regarding what's happening right now in the world, what's happening with the Muslims, what's happening with the Muslim youth specifically, and how if we as parents and teachers and imams and adults and community members, if we don't do a better job of creating a proper Islamic environment for our kids and for future generations, then we should expect them to go astray. So I know this video, it's more so just kind of raising awareness regarding everything that's going on and all the different things that we should consider. But, perhaps you can share your thoughts in the comments. Perhaps in future videos, we can maybe dissect some of these issues piece by piece. But really, at the end of the day, if we just learn about our religion and we implement our religion, then one major thing that we're going to realize, especially as parents, because the parents, we are responsible for our flocks. We are responsible for where we're sending our children, what type of environments we're putting them in, and those environments are going to affect them. So I am a strong proponent, once again, for Islamic schools. Right now, in order to establish our school, Straight Path Academy, we just need enough funding to purchase a property, inshallah. But I really feel like this is something that is very important for us and for our children, because when our children go astray, and we ask that Allah always keep them guided, and we ask that Allah guide everyone in our societies. But, once it's too late, once our children go astray, then we find people wanting to prioritize it. So rather than allowing that to happen, we should do our best from now to prioritize this religion, to prioritize our children and their upbringing. And, we make dua for all of us, for our communities, for our children, for the ability to establish good schools and good communities. Allah knows best. JazakumAllahukhairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Help us establish Straight Path Academy, the full-time Islamic school coming to Jacksonville, Florida, and receive countless rewards in the hereafter for every beneficial thing taught to our children. A sadaqah jariyah reward that will continue even after we're gone, inshallah. JazakumAllahukhairan.